take this pathetic alimony check and get the hell out of my sight. Valerie, the wife I blindly trusted with my entire empire, hissed venomously, violently throwing the paper down. She glared at me with utter disgust, smoothing out her overpriced haute couture gown. Genesis is about to rake in $2 billion. A washed-up, senile old engineer like you has no damn right dragging this company down. Caleb, the protege I took under my wing, adjusted his black turtleneck with a mocking smirk. I've already wiped all your server access, Professor. Your era is dead and buried, so step aside and let a real genius milk this AI dry. I quietly picked up the check, my thumb gently tracing the battered vintage pocket watch hidden inside my coat. They gleefully clinked their glasses, celebrating the theft of my life's masterpiece. But these arrogant fools had absolutely no idea that buried deep inside the AI core they were pawning off to the military, I had planted a kill switch code. The exact millisecond they dare hit that launch button, a massive hundreds of millions of dollars debt is going to crash down and grind them straight into dust. Want to see how this washed-up engineer absolutely crushes these backstabbing traitors? Smash that like button and subscribe right now to watch this brutal high-tech payback unfold. Crystal blue spotlights swept across the grand ballroom of the luxury hotel. The applause roared like thunder. On the massive stage, Caleb Mercer adjusted the collar of his black turtleneck, leaning on the podium with the sheer arrogance of a god. "You are witnessing history," Caleb roared into the microphone, a triumphant smirk plastered on his face. "Genesis is not just artificial intelligence. It is a revolutionary algorithm, conceived and written by my own two hands. The era of obsolete, dusty code is dead. The future is in my hands." Valerie Croft, the ex-wife I once loved with all my heart, glided out from backstage. Draped in a diamond-encrusted haute couture gown, she beamed, wrapping her arm around Caleb. Right Dynamics is beyond proud to have a genius chief architect like Caleb. Next week, when Genesis is officially acquired by Titan Defense for $2 billion, we are going to reshape the entire world. I stood silently in a pitch-black corner, my arms crossed. My worn, wrinkled suit looked completely out of place in this sea of people reeking of expensive perfume. My eyes were dead, silent, razor-sharp, locked onto the two puppets dancing on stage. An algorithm written by his own two hands? What an absolute joke. He was nothing but a useless intern I picked up out of the gutter, and now he was crowning himself the creator of the very system I stayed awake tens of thousands of nights to build. 15 minutes later, inside the completely soundproof VIP lounge, Valerie slammed a paper-thin check onto the tempered glass table. She tilted her chin up, glaring at me with absolute unfiltered disgust, her shrill voice dripping with venom. "Take this pathetic $10,000 check and get the hell out of my sight. Sign this asset relinquishment form right damn now. Your rotting stench is polluting the air of the elite." I slowly stepped forward, intentionally letting my hands violently tremble in a perfect display of weakness. I wheezed, forcing my voice to sound submissive and frail. "Valerie, Genesis is my life's work. You can't just kick me to the curb like a stray dog. I need the money for my heart condition." "Heart condition?" Valerie burst into a shrieking laugh, sharp as shattered glass. She marched over, aggressively jabbing her blood-red fingernails straight into my chest. "Your rusted-out heart isn't even worth half of my designer bag, Declan. You are just a senile, backward old engineer who always buries his head in a moldy lab. This company is about to go public. We need polished billionaire faces, not some old creep dressed like a homeless bum blocking our evolution." The lounge door swung open. Caleb swaggered in, casually holding a glass of red wine. He circled around me, clicking his tongue in mocking pity, acting like a supreme overlord. "Come on now, Madam Chairwoman. Don't be so harsh on my old professor." He stopped dead in front of me, looking down his nose, a despicable smirk twitching on his lips. "Professor Declan, so damn pathetic. Do you know what I just did?" I personally wiped every single one of your IDs, keycards, and admin passwords from the core system. Your server access is officially absolute zero. From this exact second, the name Declan Wright no longer exists in the history of Genesis. Take your retirement pennies and go find a nursing home to drop dead in. The air in the room suddenly sank, suffocatingly thick. I stopped trembling. The pathetic, frail breathing of a sick old man instantly evaporated without a single trace. I slowly raised my head. My eyes, pitch black, dead silent, and deep as a bottomless abyss, drove straight into Caleb's pupils. The murderous aura radiating from my body was so suffocating that his breath instantly hitched in his throat. He flinched, stumbling a half-step back, his wineglass violently shaking as a few dark drops splashed onto the floor. Cold sweat poured down his spine, his thin lips trembling as he muttered in pure terror. "What? What the hell are you looking at? You actually think you just wiped my access?" "Caleb?" I spoke, no screaming, no rage, a deep, guttural whisper echoing straight from the grave. Carrying the absolute authority of the Grim Reaper, Valerie froze dead. She stumbled back, breaking into a cold sweat, blindly clutching the back of the sofa, her legs trembling too hard to take a single step forward. But in a fraction of a millisecond, I shrank my neck back, coughing violently, frantically snatching the check and the contract off the table. "I'll sign! I signed it! Don't hit me! I'm leaving right now!" Caleb let out a massive breath, gulping hard. He smoothed the front of his shirt, desperately trying to mask his sheer terror and claw back his hollow arrogance. "Get the hell out! And don't you ever show your pathetic face at my company again." I turned my back, silently walking out the door, leaving behind the manic, gloating laughter of two parasites drunk on their billion-dollar delusions. They were dead certain they had just crushed an obsolete engineer. They had no damn idea. They had just dug their own mass grave. Midnight. A rundown, leaking apartment on the outskirts of the city. I sat perfectly still in the pitch black, my spine straight as an arrow. The worn-out suit jacket was thrown aside. Sitting right in front of me was a thick, matte black military-grade laptop. My rough hands rested on the keyboard. Not slow, not old. My 10 fingers flew across the keys with the speed of a lethal machine, firing off complex encrypted command lines that a fake genius like Caleb couldn't decipher in 100 lifetimes. The pitch-black screen flickered. Those arrogant fools. Did they honestly believe that revoking my Level 2 dummy account would let them hijack Genesis? They stole the shiny outer shell, completely oblivious to the fact that the true soul of this system was resting safely in my coat pocket the entire time. Clack. I hit the final key. The Genesis core system interface of Wright Dynamics instantly lit up crystal clear on my screen. I had just bypassed Caleb's state-of-the-art security firewalls in exactly 30 seconds flat. A blood-red text block began flashing violently in the center of the dark monitor. Warned unauthorized access to Genesis core detected. Copyright theft registered. Initiate kill switch protocol? I reached out, gently rubbing the glass face of the vintage bronze pocket watch sitting on the desk. The audio confession was safely locked inside the memory chip. The ultimate legal death trap was set. The exact second this Genesis system is plugged into the military's servers, a global-scale copyright infringement will detonate, and the invisible debt will drag them straight down to the bottom of hell. I smirked. A ruthless, bone-chilling smile cutting through the dead of night. $2 billion, huh? I whispered into the deafening silence, my razor-sharp voice carrying an irreversible death sentence. "Enjoy your fake glory, you naive little punks. I'm going to let you climb all the way to the absolute peak, and then I will personally kick you straight down to hell." I moved the mouse, calmly clicking the standby button. The beast has opened its jaws. Now all I have to do is wait for the stupid prey to walk right in. The tempered glass tower of Wright Dynamics loomed over the heart of Silicon Valley. Caleb smoothed back his heavily slicked hair, stepping out of an armored Maybach. He shot me a sideways glance, a mocking smirk curling his lip. Well, well, look what piece of trash just blew into my lobby. I hunched over, pathetically clutching an empty cardboard box, shoulders slumped, clothes completely disheveled. Caleb, I just wanted to get back the photo of my late wife and a few old notebooks. They said security dumped them in the lobby. I'll leave right after. Professor? Caleb barked, the veins popping in his neck. He jutted his chin toward the ceiling, marching over to aggressively jab his index finger into my chest. Are you completely delusional? There is no professor here. You are just an obsolete engineer who got fired for gross incompetence. Listen to me loud and clear, old man. Stand dead still in that corner like a damn janitor. Chairwoman Croft and I are hosting the generals from Titan Defense today. If you dare open your mouth and discuss them, I'll have security break both your legs. I shrank my neck back, my shoulders shaking violently. I understand. I won't cause any trouble. Valerie glided out of the gold-plated elevator doors. Draped in a blood-red haute couture gown, she hooked her arm through a 4-star generals from Titan Defense. She flashed a fake, glossy smile, her voice dripping with sycophantic praise. General, sir, Genesis is not just ordinary tech. It is the ultimate weapon capable of controlling the entire global satellite grid. And our Caleb is the absolute genius who built it from the ground up. The general gave a curt nod, his razor-sharp eyes scanning the AI model on the massive screen. I don't give a damn about your empty sales pitches. I only want to know, is this system as bulletproof as you claim? The Pentagon is wiring a $500 million deposit next week. If there is a single security flaw, you will be facing a military tribunal. Caleb puffed out his chest, letting out an obnoxiously cocky laugh. You worry too much, General. I personally upgraded the core algorithm myself. It is an impenetrable fortress. Every single obsolete remnant from the last century has been completely wiped clean. I silently trailed behind them with my cardboard box, heading toward the VIP boardroom hallway. They were way too drunk on their power trip to even spare a glance at the trembling janitor behind them. Right as we reached the boardroom threshold, I purposely caught the toe of my shoe on the carpet edge. Crash! I tumbled hard onto the marble floor. The cardboard box flew out of my hands, spilling random junk everywhere. But in the exact split second, every eye was glued to the trash. My wrist gave a microscopic flick. The vintage bronze pocket watch slid silently across the rug, disappearing perfectly into the pitch-black shadow under the bull-hide leather sofa. Flawless. Valerie spun around. Her meticulously contoured face twisted into pure, unadulterated rage. She shrieked at the top of her lungs. Security! Where are you useless guards? Who the hell let this homeless beggar crawl into the VIP wing? 2 massive guards immediately lunged forward, grabbing me by the collar and violently hoisting me into the air. Caleb stormed over, his eyes bloodshot, grinding his teeth as he hissed. He dropped his voice just low enough so the generals wouldn't hear, but it was dripping with venom. Do you have a death wish, old man? Are you trying to ruin the biggest day of my damn life? The exact millisecond the gap between us closed to a few inches. My pathetic, submissive facade shattered completely. I stopped shaking. The frail, wheezing breath vanished instantly. I slowly snapped my head up. My eyes, pitch black, bottomless and cold as a 1,000-year glacier, drove straight through Caleb's dilating pupils. My rough hand suddenly shot out, locking onto his wrist with the bone-crushing force of a solid steel vise. That machine, I whispered, my voice a guttural rasp, thick with pure murder, carrying the absolute authority of the Grim Reaper. It is going to chew your bones to dust. Caleb. Caleb froze dead, his breath instantly hitched in his throat. Cold sweat poured down his forehead, his thin lips trembling uncontrollably. A primal terror hijacked his entire body as he stared straight into the colossal mind he had always been so desperately jealous of. What the hell are you talking about? But a fraction of a second later, I let go of his arm, doubling over into a violent coughing fit, tears streaming pathetically down my face. "I'm sorry. I'm leaving right now. Please don't hit me. I just wanted to find my wife's picture." Valerie waved her hand in sheer disgust, turning her face away. "Throw him out on the street. Hurry up. And disinfect this entire hallway." The guards dragged me violently down the long corridor, tossing me straight out the revolving glass doors. They sneered and laughed, dead certain I had just been brutally humiliated. They had absolutely no idea. I had just personally planted a ticking time bomb right under their negotiation table. Midnight. The rundown apartment was drowning in the sound of pouring rain. I lit a cigarette, sitting perfectly still in front of my military-grade laptop. My spine was straight as an arrow. The earphones were plugged deep into a receiver the size of a matchbox. The transmission from the bronze pocket watch came through crystal clear. The sharp clinking of crystal glasses echoed repeatedly from the VIP boardroom. Smooth jazz played in the background, drowned out by the disgusting, arrogant laughter of those demons gloating on top of their fake glory. "Cheers!" Valerie's voice slurred, screeching in ultimate triumph. $2 billion. Those conservative military dogs swallowed the bait whole. They completely believe this algorithm is yours. "Congratulations to my new CEO, Caleb." The sound of Caleb loudly gulping liquor followed. He barked out a manic laugh, slurring his words in a drunken, uncontrollably greedy frenzy. "Exactly. Next Friday, the exact second the military wires that $500 million deposit, we forge the financial reports. We instantly funnel half of that cash straight into offshore accounts in the Caymans. That stupid old Declan worked his entire life to set the table for us. Now we just bleed it dry. Let him drop dead in the streets. Ha 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 ha!" The recording kept rolling, capturing every single disgusting confession, every filthy piece of their massive fraud. Every single word was transmitted straight to an isolated cloud server, heavily encrypted under the shell company I completely owned. I casually pulled off the earphones, resting them gently on the wooden desk. The room sank into a suffocating, dead silence. The shadows swallowed half my face, leaving only the glowing red ember of the cigarette on my lips. They honestly believed they had hijacked Genesis. But they were completely blind to the fact that Genesis wasn't just a machine, it was a living ecosystem, and I was the only one holding the keys to its central nervous system. I took a deep drag of the cigarette, blowing a cloud of grey smoke toward the ceiling. A bone-chilling, ruthlessly dark smile crept across my lips. "Copyright theft is one thing," I whispered into the dead quiet, my voice echoing like a judge's gavel, slamming down a final verdict. "But conspiring to defraud and launder a federal military deposit, you both just signed your own damn death warrants." The secret cigar lounge was dimly lit by sickly yellow bulbs, reeking of overpriced tobacco. Graves, the most cold-blooded, ruthless debt recovery lawyer in the business, slammed a massive stack of financial files onto the solid oak table. He ripped off his reading glasses, yanking out a silk handkerchief to frantically wipe the cold sweat pouring down his forehead. The look in his eyes as he stared at me was pure, unadulterated terror. "They are out of their damn minds, Declan." Graves tapped his finger aggressively against the blood-red statements, his breathing heavy. "Valerie and that punk, Caleb, just leveraged 100% of their personal equity. They took out hundreds of millions in hard money bank loans and wired it straight into shell trusts in the Caymans. They are trying to launder the military's deposit and liquidate their assets before the project is even officially handed over." I slowly swirled the glass of bourbon in my hand, staring at the amber liquid splashing against the crystal. Not a single wrinkle on my forehead shifted. Every single move had been calculated down to the exact millisecond. "Good dogs," I whispered, a deep, dead, silent sound carrying the crushing weight of a death sentence. "The prey is literally greasing itself up and lying down on the chopping block." Graves gulped hard, his hands trembling violently as he held the paper. He leaned closer to me, dropping his voice to a terrified whisper like he was afraid of waking the dead. If this project blows up tomorrow, they will be left with absolutely nothing. Not only will they lose this entire company, but they'll be buried under a mountain of debt they can never, ever repay. The banks and the mob will hunt them down and bleed them dry for every last drop of their miserable lives. Do you really want to send them straight to the grave? I slammed my glass down onto the table. Clack. A dry, deafening sound echoed, carrying a suffocating pressure that made Graves instantly freeze and hold his breath. Death is far too merciful of an escape, Graves. My eyes drilled straight into him, as sharp and freezing cold as a surgical scalpel. I want them alive, so they can feel what it's like to be skinned alive, day after day. The next afternoon, the penthouse asset liquidation room of Right Dynamics. I stumbled inside, my trembling hands desperately clutching a wooden cane, my shoulders slumped in a pathetic display of defeat. My weak, rattling cough echoed, completely out of place in this sun-drenched room filled with extravagant luxury furniture. Valerie scrunched her face in absolute disgust, like she just caught a whiff of a rotting rat. She pinched the final liquidation document between two fingers, jutting her chin out aggressively. "Sign it, and get the hell out of my sight. Your rotting stench is polluting my $1,000,000 airspace." Caleb sat cross-legged in the authentic leather CEO chair, taking a slow sip of premium afternoon tea. He smirked, barking out the arrogant, delusional mockery of a man who actually believed he was the center of the universe. "Professor Declan, why do you look so pathetic and broken? If I knew you'd end up like this, I would have left you a few lines of garbage code so you could play Minesweeper at home. I am the CEO now. I am the greatest mind of this era. You should be honored just to be breathing the same air as me." I trembled, clutching a crumpled stack of medical records tightly to my chest, intentionally letting my knees give out. Thud. I collapsed onto the plush wool rug, wheezing out a pathetic, desperate, and utterly broken whisper. "Valerie, I'm begging you, take all the equity and the money, but please, don't cut my health insurance. My heart is failing," the doctors said without the specialized medication. "I won't survive the month." Caleb burst into a maniacal laugh, the ear-piercing sound of an egomaniac who had completely lost his mind. He clapped his hands mockingly. "Health insurance? Do you think Right Dynamics is a damn charity, old man? We are about to become a $1 trillion tech empire. Don't you dare try to extort us with your cheap, worthless life that's already halfway in the grave." Valerie marched over. Her razor-sharp stiletto heels swung out, violently kicking my medical records, scattering the papers all over the room. She put her hands on her hips, bending down, shoving her heavily contoured face inches from mine as she hissed every vicious, arrogant word. "Listen to me loud and clear, you useless old cripple. Your life, your rusted-out, failing heart, isn't even worth a scuff mark on these designer shoes. We are about to be on the cover of Forbes. We do not have time to baby a rotting corpse. Get the hell out of my building before I have security break your other good leg." I shrank back, my shoulders shaking uncontrollably, clumsily scrambling to gather the scattered papers off the floor in pure, absolute humiliation. I'll leave. Please don't hit me. I'm going. Security, throw this piece of garbage out on the street right now," Caleb roared, waving his hand with ruthless dismissal. Two massive bodyguards lunged forward, grabbing me by the armpits and dragging me violently out of the boardroom. I left behind the maniacal laughter and the clinking of glasses from those two bloodthirsty demons. They were dead certain they had just successfully crushed a sick, harmless old man, robbing him blind without paying a single dime in consequences. They had absolutely no idea. This exact cruelty had just deadbolted the gates of hell right behind them. Outside, a torrential thunderstorm was raging. Biting, freezing wind slammed against the glass windows of the tech skyscraper. The guards ruthlessly threw me out, sending me crashing into a freezing puddle in front of the parking lot. But the exact millisecond the automatic revolving glass doors clicked shut, the pathetic, submissive weakness in my body shattered completely. I didn't cough. I didn't tremble. I slowly stood up straight. My spine towered rigid and overbearing like a silent glacier in the middle of a raging hurricane. I reached out a remarkably steady hand, casually brushing the muddy water off my suit jacket. My face was cold, terrifyingly void of any emotion. The curtain had fallen. The fake little game was officially over. Ring! Ring! The armored secure phone in my breast pocket vibrated violently. I hit the receive button. The tense, adrenaline-fueled voice of Attorney Graves pierced through the deafening rain. Declan! My intel network just confirmed it. Titan Defense is going to integrate the entire Genesis core into the military's global satellite network at the launch ceremony tomorrow morning. The exact millisecond our system goes online, the global copyright infringement penalty will trigger automatically at $10 million per minute. Mr. Wright, should we send an anonymous legal injunction to stop them right now? If we let it run, the debt will exceed anything humanly imaginable. I stood perfectly still in the blinding white rain. My pitch-black eyes stared up at the glowing peak of the glass skyscraper, where those bottom-feeding thieves were proudly wearing their fake crowns. I smirked, a smile of ultimate absolute destruction, as sharp as a freshly honed guillotine blade preparing to drop. "Stop them?" I whispered into the phone, my voice chilled to the absolute bone, slicing right through the roaring thunder. "No. Graves. Never put out the fire when your enemies are busy drenching themselves in gasoline." I turned on my heel, walking into the pitch-black shadows, leaving behind a silent, irreversible death sentence. Have the federal asset freeze orders ready to go. Tomorrow morning, I want that little punk to slam his own hand on the launch button. I want them buried under a mountain of debt that selling their souls 1,000 times over could never, ever repay. The Titan Global Convention Center exploded into a relentless storm of camera flashes. Thousands of international media lenses and dozens of high-ranking Pentagon generals were pointed dead center at the main stage. Caleb Mercer, draped in a black turtleneck, paced the podium with the arrogant, god-complex swagger of a tech messiah. He threw his arms wide open, roaring into the massive surround sound PA system. Human history is officially split in half, before today and after today. Intellectuals, generals, what you are about to witness is not just some ordinary AI software. Genesis is a god, and I, Caleb Mercer, am the one who harnessed its fire to hand it over to you. The applause erupted like rolling thunder. In the VIP front row, Valerie raised a diamond-encrusted champagne flute, flashing a radiant, plastic smile as she clinked glasses with the investors. She was living in her ultimate fantasy, practically feeling the Forbes magazine crown on her head. I stood hunched over in the absolute darkest corner of the auditorium. My shoulders slumped, my trembling hands desperately gripping a wooden cane. My worn-out suit completely drowned in this sea of people wearing $10,000 designer outfits. Valerie accidentally turned her head. The triumphant smile wiped clean off her lips. Her eyes bulged. She violently slammed her champagne flute onto the table and stomped her stiletto heels, storming straight toward me. She grabbed the lapel of my suit, gritting her teeth as she hissed. Her shrill breath reeked of expensive perfume and pure venom. "You miserable old bastard! Who the hell let you drag your rotting carcass in here? Are you trying to ruin the exact moment I collect my $500 million deposit?" I shrank my neck back, stumbling a step like I was about to collapse. I coughed violently, forcing my voice to sound as pathetic, desperate, and weak as humanly possible. "Valerie, please, don't kick me out. I just want to stand in the shadows. I want to see Genesis shine one last time. It's my only child. Please," Valerie scoffed, ruthlessly slapping my hand away like I was a disgusting parasite. She shoved her heavily contoured face inches from mine, spitting out every arrogant, soul-crushing word. "Your child, what an absolute joke. Open your foggy eyes and look at the stage. Caleb is its creator. Your pathetic error is already buried 6 feet under. Keep your smelly mouth shut and stand dead still. If you breathe one single word and piss off those generals, I swear to God I will have security break your legs and throw you straight in a cell." I kept my head down, my clumsy hands frantically gripping the cane. "I understand. I swear I won't make a sound. Please don't call the cops. Good. Turn into a damn ghost, you piece of trash," she snorted coldly, spinning on her heels and gliding back to the VIP section. On stage, Caleb was pushing his arrogance to the absolute limit. He strutted over to the central command console, hovering over a glowing red launch button. "Generals, the connection protocol to the entire defense satellite grid will activate right now. The era of AI created by Caleb Mercer officially begins." Caleb dramatically raised his right hand high into the air. The entire auditorium held its breath. Thousands of power-hungry eyes locked onto that red button. He slammed his hand down. A sharp beep echoed. But the massive LED screens behind the stage didn't boot up the mesmerizing Z-Space interface they had promised. Boom! A blinding blood-red light swallowed hundreds of square feet of screens. The pitch-black auditorium was instantly drowned in a dead, ghostly crimson glow. Ear-piercing sirens shrieked, ripping through the eardrums of thousands of people. A cold, soulless AI voice blasted through every corner of the massive hall. Warning! Extreme pkakingd invrad. Songso kodhuft from military certus detected. System is now deadlocked. The auditorium exploded. The Pentagon generals bolted upright in sheer panic. Thousands of reporters frantically scrambled, absolute chaos erupting. What the hell is this?" Caleb screamed in absolute horror. He lunged at the console, frantically smashing the keyboard. "It's a display glitch! Where is the tech team? Shut it down! Reboot the system right damn now!" But the keyboard was completely dead. The AI voice kept executing its sentence, as cold and ruthless as the Grim Reaper's scythe. "Kill switch throttle activated. Automatic debt incurred for intellectual property thuft $500 million. Increasing by $10 million per minute. No! Stop it!" Caleb shrieked until his vocal cords tore. He froze dead. His knees completely gave out. He stumbled backward, cold sweat soaking right through his black turtleneck. His eyes bulged out of his skull, staring in ultimate, absolute terror as the debt counter danced wildly across the blood-red screens. 510 million, 520 million. Down in the VIP row, Valerie dropped her champagne glass, shattering it on the floor. She broke into a cold sweat, every drop of blood draining from her face, her entire body shaking violently as she clung to the back of her chair. "Caleb, what the hell did you do? Our deposit! Turn it off!" A 4-star general roared in blind fury, ripping his military-grade sidearm straight out of its holster. "You absolute frauds! You dared to plug a stolen source code into the Pentagon's satellite network. You are committing high treason." Caleb trembled like a leaf in a hurricane. He clutched his head, sobbing pathetically, darting his eyes wildly across the auditorium, desperately searching for a lifeline. And then his dead, hopeless eyes locked onto the dark corner at the back of the hall, exactly where I was standing. The wooden cane in my hand slowly slipped from my grip, dropping onto the carpet without a single sound. The pathetic, frail shell of a useless old man shattered completely. My spine stood perfectly straight, towering and overbearing like a solid mountain of rock. I slowly stepped out of the shadows, radiating an absolute, dead silent majesty amidst the horrific, screaming chaos of thousands of people. My right hand was holding a matte black master controller. My pitch-black eyes, deep and chilled to the absolute bone, drove straight into Caleb's shrinking, terrified pupils. The murderous aura radiating from my body completely crushed his lungs. He dropped to one knee on the stage floor, entirely unable to breathe. "You can steal a blueprint." "Caleb," I spoke, a guttural whisper that possessed the ultimate power of life and death, slicing straight through the deafening chaos, knocking directly on the eardrums of a traitor. My lips curled into a terrifying, bone-chilling smirk. "But you can never, ever steal the key that locks the beast inside. What the hell did you do to my system, you crazy old bastard?" Caleb roared, the veins in his neck bulging crimson. He frantically grabbed the microphone, his trembling finger pointing straight at me. "Security! Where is the security team? Blow his damn head off! He's a cyber terrorist! Shoot him!" The four-star Pentagon general violently kicked his chair aside, drawing his military-grade sidearm and aiming it dead center at the stage. "The only terrorist in this room is you little punk! You are committing high treason by plugging ransomware straight into the national defense grid." Valerie scrambled wildly toward the stage. Her sharp stiletto heel caught on a bundle of cables, sending her crashing hard onto her knees against the wooden floor. She dragged herself over to claw at Caleb's pants, her perfectly contoured face now smeared with cold sweat. "Caleb, do something! Delete that damn debt! Our deposit! We cannot carry a $500 million debt! Bam!" The massive oak doors of the convention center were kicked wide open. Attorney Graves marched in, cold, overbearing, and ruthless. Right on his heels were 20 heavily armed federal agents in black windbreakers, instantly fanning out to lock down every single exit. Graves violently slammed a stack of documents, sealed with deep red wax, onto the central console. He grabbed a backup microphone, his booming voice echoing through the terrified, dead, silent auditorium. "Nobody is allowed to delete or shut down a damn thing. Emergency injunction from the Federal Supreme Court. The Genesis Core algorithm is the exclusive property of a private shell company owned by Mr. Declan Wright. The exact second you booted it up to sell to the military, you automatically triggered a global-scale copyright infringement penalty." Graves turned to Caleb, glaring at him with absolute, unfiltered disgust. "Wright Dynamics is currently saddled with an emergency debt of $500 million, effective immediately, and that number is climbing by $10 million for every single minute you stand there with your jaw dropped." Caleb stumbled backward, completely drained of blood. Cold sweat soaked right through the back of his shirt. "No, that's impossible. I wiped all of his accounts clean. There is no way that senile old fool hid a ghost company inside the core system. He's just a piece of trash engineer." Valerie shrieked at the top of her lungs, crawling to the edge of the stage and pointing her finger right at my face. "It's a scam, generals. That old man is trying to extort us. Our contract is still perfectly valid. Arrest him." I slowly walked up the stage steps. The blood-red glow from the monitors cast a chilling, ice-cold shadow across my face. Not a single person dared to stop me. The crowd of thousands held their breath, parting ways like they were making room for the Grim Reaper himself. I stopped dead in front of the central command console. My hand casually reached into my worn suit pocket, pulling out the vintage bronze pocket watch. I gently pressed a button. A microscopic data cable slid out of the casing. I plugged it straight into the massive audio system's data port. "Let's see who the real fraud is," I whispered. A deep, guttural sound that completely suffocated the heartbeat of every single person in the room. Exactly 3 seconds later, the chaotic audio from the VIP boardroom last night blasted crystal clear through hundreds of heavy-duty speakers. The slurred, greedy, and purely arrogant voices of Caleb and Valerie crashed straight into the ears of the generals and thousands of reporters live streaming it globally. Next Friday, the exact second the military wires that $500 million deposit, we forge the financial reports. We instantly funnel half of that cash straight into offshore accounts in the Caymans. Caleb's sickening, manic laugh echoed loudly. "That stupid old Declan worked his entire life to set the table for us. Now we just bleed it dry. Let him drop dead in the streets." Valerie's voice shrieked in triumphant agreement. The entire auditorium exploded in absolute, unfiltered fury. Camera flashes fired relentlessly, like a thunderstorm, perfectly capturing the corpse, pale, horrified faces of those two blood-sucking demons. Their fake curtain of glory had just been burned to pure ashes. The general roared, snatching the $2 billion contract out of his aide's hands, ripping it to absolute shreds, and violently throwing the pieces right into Caleb's face. "Cancel every single transaction. Lock it down immediately. Where is the Pentagon's legal team? I want every single personal asset these two own confiscated and liquidated today to cover this debt. Do not leave them a single damn dime." The lead FBI agent stormed the stage, raising the arrest warrants high into the air. "Caleb Mercer, Valerie Croft, you are both under arrest for economic espionage, massive-scale copyright infringement, and conspiracy to defraud the federal military. You have the right to remain silent." The freezing steel of the handcuffs snapped shut with a sharp, dry crack. Click! Clack! Caleb was violently slammed face first into the wooden floor by two agents. The slick, arrogant face of the new CEO was now pressed hard against the toe of my shoe. He thrashed around, sobbing pathetically like a feral animal dragged to the slaughterhouse. "Let me go. I am a genius. I am the man who changes the world. You crazy old bastard. You ruined me. You ruined my entire life." Valerie's arms were violently wrenched behind her, back in cuffs. Her elaborate makeup washed away in thick streaks of black tears. She collapsed onto the stage, dragging her bleeding knees right to my feet, frantically clawing at the hem of my trousers. "Declan, please, I'm begging you," she shrieked, her voice hoarse, completely miserable, and utterly humiliated. "I'm your wife. We swore a vow to each other. I can't survive in a prison cell. I was wrong. I'll give the company back. Please, for the sake of our marriage, drop the lawsuit. Don't let me rot to death in a cage." I slowly leaned down, coldly peeling her filthy fingers off my pants one by one. I looked at her without a single shred of mercy, just the hollow, absolute ruthlessness of a bottomless abyss. "Our marriage?" I whispered into her ear, the smile on my lips carrying the ultimate absolute power of life and death. "The day you kicked my medical records out the door, do you remember screaming that my life wasn't even worth a scuff mark on your designer shoes?" I stood perfectly straight, gently brushed my trouser leg, radiating an absolute dead silent majesty amidst the ruined ashes of those sewer rats. "I built you both from absolutely nothing. I dropped every word like lead, driving them straight into their shattered souls. Now, it's your turn to return to the dirt." I turned on my heel and walked away, my towering silhouette fading into the pitch-black shadows backstage, leaving behind the desperate sobbing, begging, and cursing from Caleb and Valerie as the cops dragged them violently out of the auditorium. On the massive screens, the debt counter hit $600 million, and Right Dynamics' stock chart nose dived straight to absolute zero, broadcast live to the entire world. The silent punishment is always the most brutal execution of them all. Thank you for riding shotgun with me through this breathtaking high-tech payback today. If you felt that sweet satisfaction watching these backstabbing brain thieves get completely destroyed, drop a comment below and share your thoughts. And don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel so we can keep bringing you these fiery, heart-pounding tales of revenge through the story of the genius engineer. Declan, we learn one razor-sharp truth. Never mistake the silence and patience of those who paved the way for weakness. True intellect and hard work cannot be stolen with cheap, dirty tricks. The blind arrogance and greed of those looking for shortcuts, looking to steal the blood, sweat, and tears of others, will always lead them straight into a dead-end trap. Live and work with your own true abilities, because the ultimate price for betrayal is total and absolute destruction. I'll see you in the next epic video.